point of it'd be really nice to get everybody in one place and down at the marina. I remember we sent some items to council last year, and I remember there was some confusion as like, I don't know what a pump out is. I don't know where the loading zone is. Sort of a, what is the marina? Where are the things in the marina? So I figured it'd be really good to have sort of an orientation day and just, offer to staff and council to come down and just see what the marina looks like. And so, Colin Jackson from what was Cooper Boating and Northwest Expeditions is no longer, but he brought one of the ex-charter boats up and allowed us to fill it with people and take it out for the day. And, initially I thought, unfortunately, we were a little bit limited by room because it would have been nice to invite some of the committee members along as well. But I also wanted to kind of keep it more of an informative day over, any sort of opinions or anything that people had, that it was just an informative day to sort of get out and witness our marina from the water perspective. And, we got to go out and see the hulks and then come back and, perform a few maneuvers inside the marina as well, just to show some of our sort of limitations on layout with, how things sort of get laid out, loading zone and things like that are located in the fuel dock, those types of things. Oh, am I still there? Do you guys have me at all?
Yeah.
Sorry, it seems to cut out a little bit. So yeah, just to sort of witness things from the water side and just have a bit more perspective on, when we talk about certain things, that there might be shortcomings here and there and what those kind of look like from a boater's perspective. I think in a big way, we have a lot of people who come from out of town who aren't familiar with the marina. Our layout is a little bit unique, and there's some limitations on where you can put boats and, if boats have to come into the loading zone and things, how tight it is. So we got to perform a few maneuvers and sort of demonstrate that it might not be the most convenient for people visiting. This is more from a visitor's perspective. What does our town look like to enter the harbor? And I think it was very well received. It was really nice to see a good attendance from council. I think the only people who couldn't make it was Trina, and the mayor Wasnow wasn't able to make it. But otherwise, we had most of council and really great turnout from staff. And it was really nice to share some time on the water together. And yeah, I think it was successful. I don't know if anybody who attended had any thoughts on just what it felt like from their perspective. I hope it was a little bit eye-opening. People learned a few things about the marina and ways that perhaps we could improve the experience for visitors to our town, and in a way to promote our town, really promote our town from the water perspective, for visitors and things like that in the future.
Thank you very much, Fraser. I really appreciated the outing, and I don't know if there's any comments from staff. If anybody wants to make any comments, go right ahead.
Sure, and thanks again, Fraser, for a wonderful trip. Being mostly an inlander, that was eye-opening for me, and I recognize the potential of this place and what a lot of you are trying to do here. And it's a pleasure to really see it from a practical standpoint. And hopefully we can help move those balloons along a little faster and catch some of those visions that are out there. So really helped me. It's kind of got me inspired. So I look forward to moving some of these things forward.
Thank you very much. And
yeah, thanks. I really appreciate everyone's attendance.
Yeah, you bet, Fraser. Did we introduce you?
I was just going to say,
yeah, that's right.
I don't think so. Yeah, I just want to introduce it. So Mark Rollins is our new director of infrastructure. And so Rod has been the acting interim for, I think it was like 6 months or 8 months, but Mark just recently joined us here. And so this falls under his portfolio. So he's getting up to speed too. Pretty sure that he went and did a bit of a tour down at the harbor with Fraser and Cam as well. So he's keen and new, and so we wanted to bring him here and introduce him. And yeah,
It helps to.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Appreciate all the introductions and the fine work by Fraser, and it was a great outing by everyone. So, having said that, let's get on to tonight's agenda for February 4th, 2026. Call for adoption of the agenda. Does anybody have any other additions or deletions that they want to make at this point in time? Seeing none. Somebody like to move tonight's agenda? Moved by Jim, seconded by Sasha. All in favor? Yes. Okay, so adoption agenda, we have minutes from the Harbour Users Advisory Committee held on December 10th. And I'm sure, I'm hoping everybody's had a chance to look at them. They're pretty straightforward. As to what transpired in December, these haven't gone to council yet because we haven't reported on them to council members, but they're for you to look at. Is there any concerns on those minutes?
Item 6.1, which was all about using North Harbor for transient word. There's nothing wrong with what's here, but it doesn't say what the actual topic was, which is using North Harbor for transient word. I think that should be noted in there. It's kind of generic about it.
Good point. So Jessica, could you make note of that and say Harbor revenue regarding transient voters? Generation regarding transient voters, can we make that change?
There's a reference to the revenue generation proposal, which provides all the details. So if we explicitly call that out in the minutes, then that should provide that.
Well, the proposal's not part of the record, but the minutes are.
You would just like to see the word transient in there somewhere.
Well, I would like to see that the item that was presented for discussion was on utilizing vacant spaces, temporarily vacated spaces in North Harbor for transient mortgage in order to generate increased revenue for the city.
So can staff make note of that?
Yeah.
We're calling for a revision of the minutes. Any members, any comments? Hearing none. Staff, are you fine with that?
Sure, yeah.
Take that under your wing and deal with that internally. And maybe these can be that component that you presented down the road if necessary. Anything else on that? Not seeing any hands in the air, I call for adoption of the minutes as revised and noted by staff. Moved by Terry, second by right there. All in favor? Very good, thank you. So we now move on to tonight's agenda with unfinished business, and this is a motion that's been put on tonight's agenda, 6.1, revised draft working group terms of reference, motion for reconsideration. And who would like to speak to that first?
So perhaps I can use procedure around reconsideration. So this is brought by Mr. Parsons, and it's pursuant to our procedure bylaw and a reconsideration under the bylaw provisions provides that it's a two-step process. So the first step is in this case, the committee votes without debate as to the merits of the matter on whether it should be reconsidered. Valid points which may be raised prior to the vote being called include such things as indicating if there's new information that wasn't available at the time the resolution was passed. And without getting into any debate on what that new information may be. So I can say that there is new information in terms of there being a new revised terms of reference for a proposed working group.
Which one? Yeah. No, it's not on there, just it was newer as of today, so we'll pass it out here in the discussion.
Yeah, so if that vote to reconsider passes, sorry, if it doesn't pass, then we just move on to the next item on the agenda. That's it. If it does pass, then you move on to considering the merits of the matter and voting on it again. So at that point, the motion that you see in the agenda, that was the original motion that was defeated, is back on the table. And you're looking at it again as if you hadn't voted on it yet. and you can debate the merits of it, talk about it, ask questions, whatever you like. So that's the two-step process. So the first step is voting without debate as to the merits of the matter on whether or not the matter should be reconsidered.
Is there an opportunity for questions prior to that?
Yeah, without getting into the merits.
Yeah, I don't want to get into the substance of everything else. It's more process oriented.
Mhm.
You mentioned that the matter can be reconsidered if there's new information. And you said the new information is the revised terms of reference. Have you seen those revised terms? You put the item on the agenda. I was wondering how those two things connect.
I hadn't seen any. Yeah, I've got copies to hand out, yeah.
They're not hugely different, there's just a few tweaks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Jim put it on the agenda, so I'm thinking you had reasons to put it on too. Put it on the agenda for reconsideration that are apart from the new information that you're about to present.
Yeah, so in very general terms, Jim could speak to why he is bringing this motion without getting into too much of the merits of the matter, but you could do that so that the committee understands why you're bringing it.
Well, I guess I felt that there was an opportunity for, lack of better words, some negotiations. I voted no. Didn't like some of the stuff that was on there. I'm hoping that there's an opportunity to revisit that stuff. And maybe we can come up with some language and some structure that we can agree with.
Any further questions in regards to reconsideration? Being no hands in the air, I'll call the question. All those in favor of reconsideration? Those opposed? Looks like it's a unanimous vote. So we are now going to pass out the new revised proposal for everybody to read through and take a minute to absorb.
So it's a marked up version, you can see like all the changes, which again aren't a lot. Yeah, okay.
Shared drive?
What?
Did you save that version in the shared drive?
No, it's
I can just photocopy it and, yeah, I can send it to Fraser, yeah. I'm gonna send it to you, Fraser.
Great, thanks.
Brandon. Stuff is what's been,
It's a change from what was brought forward before, yeah.
not gonna change.
No. I think, yeah, no, we'll talk through it, it's quite a big change to certain component of it, which was flagged as being issues. Yeah, Stuart has let us know when Fraser has a copy.
It's sent to your email, Fraser, just let me know when you have it.
Perfect. Yeah, just got my eye on it. Okay, got it. I'll take a look.
It's funny the things we sort of take for granted now, the fact that Fraser's on the other side of the world and we're just sending him random things.
That's Fraser received it.
Yeah,
Technology is wild. I can't believe it.
right?
So if you like, I can speak to the report again in a very summary fashion and identify about the changes.
That'd be great, yeah.
Go right ahead. So, if you recall, the objective, the layout in the report previously was to try to address the perceived dysfunctions of the committee in terms of it being the intent to deal with operational issues, work through those issues with staff, and instead of being stuck in a loop with council, where it's not council's purview to be involved in the operational issues that we're looking at trying to solve and to, make constructive headway on. So the idea was to have a working group that was formal. It's the group that's here and the staff that are responsible for the harbors, talking through the issues and looking to find ways to make headway on the things that you guys see as challenges and opportunities, and to figure out if there's ways to address those things constructively and move them forward. So that was always the objective. There were some things in the terms of reference that perhaps seemed like sticking points. And so we've gone back and taken a look at those. And in terms of the length of term, we've softened that up a little bit there in terms of, it's this group reappointed for maximum 3 consecutive terms. And then reappointment of the public members will occur each January and period. And instead of being a discretion of the CAO. So that happens each January, and the chief administrative officer may only remove and replace a member of the public on the group if they violate the code of conduct referenced in the terms of reference, at the end of the terms of reference, or the city's respectful workplace and prevention of harassment, bullying, and discrimination policy. So that's a policy which applies to council, it applies to staff, and it applies to members of the public in terms of the interactions that we all have together. And that's available on our website on the documents page. So I encourage everyone to go and have a look at that. Governance, again, we're identifying that we're speaking about agendas being prepared by the chair and support staff with input from the working group public members where appropriate. And then in the code of conduct, the working group public members are expected to follow those objectives and ideals of behavior. And working group staff members are similarly expected to abide by the same behaviors expected of public members to the extent that's applicable, because some of these things are these staff related things, and in accordance with their employment responsibilities. So they have those responsibilities and expectations of their employment in any event, and the pleasure of the CAO ultimately if they're not behaving properly. So that's what we come up with in terms of changes. Hopefully that addresses concerns that members of but I think time for me to stop talking.
Thank you, Peter. That's pretty well, sums it up there. Quick question, if this is adopted, all members of the committee would get a code of conduct to abide by, so that they have it to read on their own and have it available for themselves for reference, correct?
Yeah, sure.
And I guess my second question is, there was some concern by some of our committees, I realized that in terms of the chair, on other committees that I've worked under, it's always been the ability of the committee to elect a chair for a working group. So I'm just, this one would be a staff member. I'm just wondering if there's any flexibility for the committee to decide as to who would be the chair of a committee going forward.
The idea behind it is that it's easier for a staff person to be able to do the chair, just to make sure everything gets on the agenda, to make sure everything is sort of brought forward and that the meetings are managed effectively. Kind of similar to having you as the chair of this one.
Right. Any other comments that anybody would make?
We're gonna do it around one discussion here.
Yeah.
Well, it's, everything, I agree with Jim, I don't feel that a staff member is gonna do the job that Bob has done for us. You know, he's sitting in an unbiased situation, like that, he's not necessarily volunteer, but he's giving us guidance through 2 years. So I think that would, in my opinion, that's part of their choice. On the term, for example, I think to expect people on a 1-year term be up to speed by the second or third meeting is a huge reach. We got people here in 1, 2-year and 4-year terms, and I think we're all getting comfortable with it now after 2 years. I think 1 year, you're gonna be chasing your tail for the first 3 meetings. So what meeting you're gonna say goodbye? I think that's an error. I'd like to see that move for correction there. If I could just suggest go back to where we started with the original council thing, revenue was 2-year and 4-year terms. We're coming at 2 right now. Those people would be possibly replaced, and the other, the rest of us would be on 2 years. So there is a succession thing there, because you don't want to start out a year with 4 or 5 brand new staff or committee members. It's a learning curve that you're just not going to get anywhere.
Well, I guess the one safeguard in this regard to that one, Jim, is that all of the current members here, this purpose, I think at the front would be able to carry on in their present role.
But correct me
Am I mistaken?
if I'm wrong.
The idea is that you could stay in your current role and for 3 years.
How many?
3.
Did I miss that?
It said that it just says that you'll be reappointed for a maximum of 3 consecutive terms. So that's what it says 3. And what it used to say at the discretion of the CEO, it doesn't say that anymore. It says that you guys are in and you're in for 3 years, but every year reappoint, because we know if people move on or whatever. But the idea behind it, and the big change in this is that instead of it being at the discretion of the CEO or whoever, that it's annually, we'll look at it. It's that you guys will start off, you'll be in, and it's a 3-year term. But the idea is after 3 years, you're not eligible anymore, and you'd have to sit out a year or maybe come back.
Yeah, I can appreciate that comment, but I just want to go over one more time that having, 4 or 5 brand new people with 1-year term. Like say we're all done with it at the end of this calendar year, and you get a brand new slate of people with 1 year.
The idea is that ideally you guys would stay for 3 years, and that's what terms of reference probably 3 years for the working group.
But the other 3 years, you're not gonna go with all the way.
1-year term, but people can be one at a time.
Yeah.
Very first one at a time.
It's a 1-year term, but people can be reappointed, is what the language says here. So it isn't like we're gonna end up with all new members every time.
But the potential is there, at least the way I read it after their years.
I mean, there is a possibility. I don't know the history of the committee. Has the membership changed over at all? Has it been the same? When did it start again?
A couple years ago.
A couple of years ago.
That may have any change.
Yeah, we're coming up on 24 months.
Okay.
So,
So in theory, this same group could be here for an additional 3 years, which would be 5 years in total. My sense and the reality of these groups is usually you don't get people staying in these groups for 5 years. After a number of years, people will be like, okay, I've got my issue solved or whatever, and there's natural attrition there, but it's given what we're trying to do with this is give a bit of certainty that this group has a chance to keep working on the issues that they brought up, and that it's not like just random. We'll be like, no, we're gonna put a bunch of new people in.
Back to my first point on the chair, is anybody got a comment on that?
I agree.
What was your point? sir?
Well, I just thought that, Councillor Palmer provided leadership and stability, bonus, and direction, and you have that the same one about a fresh staff member, I just don't see that working.
So
There's more I can add to it about this, yeah.
just, I still don't understand what you're saying, though. You're saying that Councillor Palm should be on the committee, or that it should be someone not a staff person? I just don't understand what you're saying.
Both, I'm saying both at the same time. You can be elected chair. Yeah, you could be the elected chair, he's a member of the committee and then an elected chair.
You know what, to be honest, we're trying to get away from having an elected official on the committee because that's not the realm.
Didn't mean elected official, the committee would elect their chair amongst the public.
I mean, that's why I'm asking for clarification, because we're all over the place. That's all he's saying, so.
That's what.
Well, he's also a contractor, so he's a client as well.
You know what, again, the idea is to not have an elected official on here, so we can talk about it. That's kind of a joke, but the idea is it's not a committee with a council member on it, is how it's a working group. And typically you wouldn't have an elected official on a working group.
Through the chair, if council members are appointed to all of our committees that we have. Correct?
Is it,
This is no lot,
This is the only committee.
is there not a working group on power game change, the council members are on? I thought there was, but Cindy was on one.
There's some liaisons on various groups in the community. Yeah, but they're usually outside organized, they're outside groups, they're not internal sort of working. We don't have a lot of working groups, most of them up at the recreation center, and elected officials don't go into that, so.
When this first got brought forward and I made a motion to rearrange some of the wording of it that we voted on that didn't pass. And I said this group, when I said this group, I was referring to Councillor Palm as well, not so much as a counselor, but as a harbor user, a man that has a lot of knowledge on the harbor. He's been here a long time. He even went through the construction of the new harbor when that got done in 2013. So my view was this group as a whole as what it is. If that was not interpreted right in the way I put it out there, I apologize for that, but that's what I was referring to, was this group as a whole. Okay. In here, you have scratched out, the members will occur each January at the discretion of the chief administrative officer. So after the first 3 years, if we were to accept this, after the first 3 years, who selects, or who would it be at the discretion of the CAO, or is it the members that would say, okay, you know what, Jim's decided that he's gonna step down, we have this person, this person, this person. Do we want to offer this to one of these 5 people to come on this?
How would that work at the end of 3 years?
We would advertise for people that want to be and who are interested. Probably the same, again, I wasn't here when you guys got appointed, but my expectation is that there would have been advertised that are people interested in doing it. And then it would go in and then.
But would it be at the discretion of the group, or would it be at the discretion of the CAO?
It wouldn't be at the discretion of the group. Say no.
With advertisement, make an
Yeah,
open call for expression.
Yeah, advertise it, like it does with other, like most decisions, and again, with committee decisions, those are always enclosed anyway, you don't have open conversations saying we want this person that, but the idea is that, to earlier points, you want some new blood in there, it should be, again, going to the group and trying to find, and if we did this, and 1 year later, 2 people got the same idea, we would put out an advertisement and try to get people involved in there. I mean, maybe this needs to be clarified that it's the staff that, or the city that makes that determination for new members. I don't know, what do you think, Peter?
Just going to the point of whether or not Councillor Palm is on the working group. The intent is not to have an elected official in the working group. As soon as you have an elected official included, it becomes a committee of council. And that means all the meetings are open to the public and, there's a lot of process that goes with all of that. And it becomes an advisory committee of council. It defeats the purpose of setting it up as a working group, which is to talk about operational issues as between the people here and the staff. So, that's a fundamental, aspect of the proposal.
I'm gonna follow.
Yeah, actually, I have one more question, and it's more for Cam. Have you had the opportunity to talk with your staff and yourself, and what's your view on this? And would this work better for you and your staff compared to what's been operating in the past?
I'm trying really hard to just this is up to you guys. This would work, from my perspective, yeah, this is an improvement. And I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Thank you.
Eric?
I think the changes are good, so thank you. And I think what we need is for most of what we want to accomplish, a cooperative working with staff is what we need. And we get that cooperative working when we can meet with them privately and discuss back and forth. I don't think it makes a difference in the chair, because chair is pretty constrained in reading what they get to do anyways. They get to mostly organize and direct the meeting. They're not in charge. So I think it's the right way to go forward, to create a cooperative environment so we can talk and see how we move forward. And not to be in contention. What disturbed me last time when we discussed this, when it was like, oh, well, we don't trust staff, so we have to be able to go to council. Well, you can go to council anytime you want. That's not prevented. This gives the opportunity to have a forum where we can actually talk about the problems and work forward to see what. I think it's the right way to go forward.
That's a very good point. Eric. And I'll just say in terms of the chair, I have really appreciated my time working with this group. I've got to tell you, as a council rep, I really value the knowledge and expertise that you guys have brought to this table in terms of putting a focus on our harbor, how things could move forward on a positive note. We've done a lot of work, and don't think for a second that you haven't. There are things in place there that you can draw from to work directly with staff. I don't have to be involved. But one thing I would like to say is in terms of your concern of your voice being heard, you could have who's going to be connected to your staff member. You could have Rod or our new fellow here as your chair, staff member, and you could elect a vice chair to run your meeting. That's going to be your decision on how you want to conduct your meeting. So that'll be up to the committee members, right?
The meeting will be run by the chair, but again, it's a working group. It's really the chair's doing is getting the agenda together, making sure the topics are on there, making sure everyone has a chance to have a conversation, making sure that the motions, if any, are being done, making sure that people have a chance to speak. That's really it. It's like somebody has to do it at the end, but at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is create a forum for a conversation to take place so that we can improve the harbor and get the harbor users provide input to staff on what needs to be done. And get things done. And the timing with the new Warfinger and with Mark on board and you here, I think this is the time to start getting stuff done, and this will help.
That's a very, very valid point there with our new staff members.
Where's the new Warfinger?
I think it's public with Maria, and I think she's working up there right now. She's currently getting training in Victoria to help with that. But my understanding is that most of you most of you guys know her. Yeah. So she's excited.
Super nice.
Which is great. Yeah. So we're excited too. We think this is like, she seems excited, again, with Mark here, Mark's excited. everyone's excited. We just need to start getting stuff done, so.
And the other person that's excited is the head of our Harbour Committee, Darwin. He's excited about the new division. So,
Oh, the Park Authority Association, there's nothing.
So in this, Mark, you normally would be at a meeting. It would be Cam, the Warfinger, and our group, unless we requested something of Cam to say, hey, can Mark come and talk to them?
There'd be probably, I'd be an observer for a while to get to know everybody and the various stakeholder perspectives more than anything. I'm trying to create a vision of what's needed. So a lot of different competing interests. I would support Cam in his role as I like the word facilitator. And to make sure that there's a good forum in which to get all those great ideas and values out on the table so that when we start going forward, we have a vision of how these dots connect. And that we're accommodating all the different perspectives at the same time. That's the point of this committee. So it's to really roll up your sleeves, get the ideas of creativity in there as we move forward. And we see this long list of improvements that can be made, doing them in the right order, the right priority, but coming forward to council with a good cohesive plan to do that, which hopefully just some of those challenges. They've been working, and it's been a very difficult few years with the management plants. And COVID and everything else, so it's been a recovery mode and things have been done. So
Sorry, that's for Peter.
okay.
No, that's not Peter. Peter.
right here.
Right here. Oh, there you go. So that I would just step in and help. I'd be a support to Cam. Possibly if Cam couldn't make it, maybe I would step in or figure that out. It would be a little bit of, it would be an open forum discussion, a healthy discussion, and that's what we want to create here is that safety for everybody to express themselves and be heard. Get it down so that we can go forward as staff to represent that.
So, Fraser, do you have anything you want to add in at this point? I know you're in a beautiful place there.
Yeah, I think the dialogue I've felt in the last few weeks has been the most hopeful that I felt about this committee and the communication and having staff come down and join on a harbor tour. Those were things that I've always wanted to do, and I think those are things that I always witness on the grassroots level seem to be the most effective. And I think that moving forward as a working group is probably the best chance we have at continuing that. And I like the slightly more candid nature at which we're able to communicate with staff during that time. So I see it as definitely a step forward, and I have definitely appreciated the extended dialogue that I've experienced in the last little while.
Yeah, I'll just follow that up, Fraser, and saying that boat trip that we took out here with staff and council was a very good exercise to get staff eyes open to all the various possibilities in our harbor. So thank you. Thanks again.
I do have several comments. And suggestions for discussion or whatever. I'm wondering if the purpose, the way it's phrased there, the three bullets, does that preclude any topics of discussion? For example, I've been pushing for greater financial transparency from the beginning. We still aren't there yet, but I haven't had, I guess, an opportunity to tell the group that the interim CFO back in fall time, who agreed there should be more financial transparency about around North Harbor, and he also agreed that they would introduce those pages when he had was extremely busy. So I trust that's in the works. Last time I talked to him, he indicated February. So it was February. Yes, it was. So I'm hoping that's forthcoming. So, for example, the purpose as it's written here, would that preclude finance and financial considerations, long-term financial viability from this group's discussion?
No, not at all. And I think it would fit under long-term planning.
Yeah, good, thank you. Any other? I'm not trying to, okay. Carry on.
This is key to me. I don't know if we're calling this a technical advisory group or a Harbour Users Advisory Group, and if we're talking about this as being strictly a technical committee or a consultation committee.
Working group.
A working group. So this is not intended as a consultation forum to identify harbor users' interests, harbor users at large.
You know, I would say that this group is supposed to be in theory representative of harbor users, so they're supposed to bring those forward. But I mean, if you're talking about going doing surveys or doing other things, that doesn't preclude those things from happening as well. I'm not thinking that the 9 people here represent every single harbor user.
No, and I'm not sure that the 9 people here represent harbor users' interests, generally speaking. Now, this site, for example, one of the key results of the survey we did, the top of mind issue for harbor users, as identified in the survey, is rising mortgage rates and long-term viability. That's as an aside, I think, to illustrate the reason I'm raising this. What concerns me is we are supposed to be representing harbor users of city staff and city council, even when things don't wind up in council for whatever reason. We're going to look at the output of this committee, the views and positions of this committee as representative of harbor users. Then we need some kind of openness and transparency, so harbor users are aware of what's being discussed here.
So that is the minutes going to the open committee of the whole quarterly, and with feedback on what we take place.
Well, if, for example, you were to look at, well, our typical minutes coming out of this group are, I think, you know, as intended, I'm not saying there's anything improper in that, but they're very brief. They do not capture actually the pros and cons, the positions raised, the positions discussed, why they were, you know, accepted or rejected, whatever. No, that's all fine, as long as I think there is shared words that this group is not representative of.
And so I thinking about what questions you guys had about reappointments, one of the thoughts and what I passed on to Peter is I think that we could tweak the term to say that new working group members will be appointed by the chief administrative officer with input from the working group. So if we do advertisements and we look for people, then we would bring, before the term was over, people in, and it would help address what you're talking about too. If you're like, hey, we've got too many, I don't know, fishermen on here, we need more recreational sailors or something, you know what I mean? And then this group could do it. So I think there's a little tweak we could make to that might help with that as well.
That's a step in the right direction. While we're on that topic, I just want to put in a point here. What you're going to be, that's a great question that you have, and a great response with a tweak, and I'm sure hopefully Jessica caught it. The members will be able to weigh in, because one of the things that you're going to be facing out of the gate here when you reconvene as a working group is Cam hasn't been attending regularly. He should probably step down and have somebody that wants to be here on a regular basis. Because
From the Coast Guard.
and the Coast Guard. So you might want to replace the Coast Guard just somewhere. So those things you're gonna have to work with right out of the gate.
Why are the meetings closed?
Why are the meetings closed moving forward?
Under the new terms reference, why are the meetings closed?
Because they're not council meetings, they're working group meetings, and they're meant to be places for frank discussion where we can have conversations that get into items that are not appropriate for.
Why can't we, think we get into those areas, and I think that those areas are gonna be very few and far between. I can only think of one area of discussion in the last 2 years of proceedings here that would, you know, fall under that kind of restriction you just mentioned. And if there were similar things to be discussed at the working group, then arrangements could be made to deal with it. But otherwise, you know, 99% of what we're talking about, there's nothing contentious or sensitive about it.
Yeah, and that's not what I've heard, and I think it becomes a bit more challenging to try to manage a meeting where let's say 75% that's open and 25% should be enclosed, and it kind of goes back and forth from there, it just becomes problematic, so.
So does it in camera, open, whatever, and this would be less formal.
So just to clarify, you said that on a quarterly basis, minutes from your working group meeting will go to council, or where are they going?
Yeah, open committee of the whole, and I mean, it gives us a chance to make sure the stuff that is reported out to the public, if there's items that get into things that shouldn't be discussed, aren't discussed, but the rest of the open things are brought forward.
Well, again, to the point that this group and the city should not be considering this group to be representative of Harbour users. If we can't tell Harbour users fully and frankly what we're talking about, I mean, that whole notion's kind of absurd. We represent Harbour users, but we can't tell them what we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting in terms of the conversations that we place here, Peter, like, would you, if it's a working group and we're having these conversations, they're not open to the public, but if a member wanted to go and talk to people about things that were being discussed here that are not, I don't think there'd be any necessarily reason why they couldn't have general conversations about what took place here at the working group.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the idea is that you'd have to identify things that are confidential in nature that really shouldn't be shared, and staff would have to be conscientious about not discussing matters that would be considered confidential, so so that doesn't arise. But operational discussions, for the most part, I would think, looking at challenges and opportunities, would be matters that, you know, if they're not confidential, then why would you be restrained? But, go ahead.
Yeah, the number of working groups I've been on with, we did was to actually just go by invite. So we basically go around and say, well, somebody special in town is here that maybe wants to come in and say a few words, or, you know, ad hoc, and it was decided by the committee it was appropriate, but it was by invitation to come and sit down.
I don't see anything in these terms that say that the meetings are confidential, just says they're not open.
Exactly, that's what I'm trying to clarify.
It goes in it,
Yeah,
and I would expect if confidential stuff, that staff wouldn't be
Yeah.
bringing that stuff to us in this meeting, but it doesn't say we can't talk about what's there, it just says the meeting's not open to the public, and that makes some sense.
Right, so the next part of that whole notion is that because Harbour users don't have the opportunity that they do here, it's very disappointing how few people have bothered to tune in online or attend in person. But that is what it is. It would be, I think, very useful. And again, if we want to consider output of the technical working group to be representative of Harbour users writ large, we should be reporting to Harbour users, and there should be a formal understanding in place or expectation. For example, we could draft summaries of our discussions after each meeting and circulate those to Harbour users via the city's email, perhaps. But if you want to, if you want a forum that it is going to reflect what Harbour users' concerns and wishes and wants are, that's the kind of a reporting relationship that your representative group needs to have.
Ken?
I just want to make one comment, and I think, Ken, you hit the nail on the head. This is the interest that you have. Right here, very few people are chiming in, and maybe they come and talk to you and stuff. I mean, if as a group, you guys represent the harbor pretty much as well as we can. Other people know that they can attend, they don't bother. So if we want an opportunity to work together, here's an opportunity to work together, keep working. I mean, there's no other committees that I'm aware of that are open to the public like this one within the city for other work, for anything else. So the scrutiny and all that stuff doesn't make sense. To me, this strikes a balance of, hey, you guys can come and chat. We're happy to listen, happy to work with you. So I think you just kind of nailed it with your comment. Just people don't participate. You guys do actively. We want to work with you because you guys are interested.
It's a lot of interest until something happens that changes that.
The other thing that was stated here, Ken, is that you all have the prerogative to go to talk to Harbour Users anytime you want. You can talk about any item that comes up here working with me. There's nothing, no holds barred. And unless the chair needs something confidential, and he'll point that out to the guy.
Well, let's put that in perspective. You can go and talk to anybody you want to. In the last 2 years, I suspect I've talked to maybe a dozen Harbour users about the proceedings of this committee. We are not reaching a group.
However, I guess there's one thing that we do, because the minutes from your meetings will be going to council in an open meeting. Those minutes could also be posted down on a bulletin board down at the harbor for all harbor users to take a look at and say, hey, I see you were talking about the North Harbor and using slips in the summertime. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? You know, that's how you get the word out. And the word of mouth in this little town goes a long way. So think about.
Is there events? Again, I haven't been here a full year. Do you guys do events down there in the summertime? Is there any like open, come explore the harbor or do like, I mean, and these are all sorts of things like this working group could be talking about. If you're actually concerned about reaching your harbor users, this is a good forum for finding out about what could happen and working with staff.
The Yacht Club is the only organization that does any public outreach.
Yeah.
And how many members you have? We got boats in the harbor. Well, I believe it's about 20, isn't it?
These are about 30 members. I don't actually know.
Fraser
how many
might know.
we have.
Sorry.
We get a couple hundred people down to the harbor lights.
Yeah, okay.
Harbor, we get, when we do the sailing days, we get 100 people on it. So the opportunity is there to do outreach if you want. Most people don't care. They do care about how much the mortgage costs. They don't care about finance, but they care about what the mortgage costs. The secondary issues.
So we're kind of now thoughts here. We're discussing.
So is there any interest among this group in the working group should sort of come with that, issuing a report and start circulating it to our use a report in
Yeah. We're gonna call the question. Jim, you put your hand up there temporarily, but did you have something you want to chime in?
I think it was just a follow-up on a statement that Peter might have made, or maybe it was you, but it's gone now.
So,
I gotta be honest, I have a couple question marks here on your code of conduct. It says not speak on behalf of, or in any way create the impression they are speaking on behalf of the working group, staff, or council.
What that means is that decisions that are made by this group, say this group is a working group and it makes a decision that gonna go to council and bring mortgage all together. Individual members can only would only be able to share that if they're given the go ahead by the group to do it. They can't be like, hey, I represent that group and you know, this is exactly what's going on. That's what it's meant to be. On behalf of is being like, I'm representing the working group and by the way, this is gonna happen.
So we can't discuss we're talking about in the working group with the general public.
It's not what it says. It says on behalf of. So on behalf of means that you are representing the working group, not a member of the working group. That's a big distinction. So it's good you're clarifying it, but what it means is that you couldn't go, staff couldn't go down there and speak on behalf of everyone here unless this group said, this is actually what we're gonna do.
Right.
That's what it means, because who knows if the working group is all on the same page. That's what it's meant to be. So if you go out there and say, well, the working group said X, Y, and Z, maybe they didn't, right? And so it needs to be sort of kind of official, like the group as a whole would have to look, but you know.
so just further clarify, Rob, or on the public meeting. First thing that you'll hear us say is, I'm speaking on behalf, my opinion, I'm not speaking for council. And that's just the way it is.
Exactly.
So back to my question, is there any interest among this group in issuing more complete reports on proceedings of a working group to Harbour users? How would that, you know, in addition to the minutes that I didn't ask you, Terry. I asked the other members of the
We're
group.
not on the, that's a whole different question. It's not a question.
Oh, no, it's actually related to whether I'm going to support the technical working group. Can I finish answering or asking me questions?
Okay, let's just carry on.
It's too much for you.
Hey, we don't need the argument. Let's just get, what's the point you want to make? I will ask the question again, is there any interest among other people here who would be on this technical group in preparing and issuing reports to harbor users?
I think so, yeah.
I guess any topic that did come up, any topic that did come up that ends with really, yeah, there's gonna be some sensitive things, but there's gonna be stuff that we can probably in the report or whatever.
I'm not talking anything necessarily formal, but if it came from the working group, it would be reviewed and approved by the working group. As opposed to me as an individual, I can send out correspondence to anybody I want to, give them my version of what happened.
So give us an example, Ken, what are you talking?
I'm talking about issuing reports. As the group determines that a report to Harbour users would be useful and is warranted. Issuing some kind of
On
report,
an annual basis, your top property.
not necessarily on an as warranted basis.
Yeah, you.
It feels a bit vague, but what I heard Ken say is that it would be the working group as a whole that would determine that they wanted to put something together and go out. It feels a bit vague, so I don't quite understand what you're getting at. The idea behind this group is it's an advisory group to staff, so that staff can do work. And it's an advisory group, so if part of the advising was this group felt like there needed to be more communication with other users about something, in theory, that would again not be something that the group would do, but that it would advise staff and do work like comms people, and we would come up with stuff that would go out. It's more that is the idea. It's an advisory working group, identifying issues, boots on the ground, understanding the things that should be done, working with staff, advising staff of what could be in a communication aspect that you're talking about. And there needs to be some sort of like, hey, nobody knows what's going on in the harbor. We need to issue a new piece of material that goes to harbor users that explains X, Y, and Z. It wouldn't be this group that would do it. It would be advising staff, and then we thanks, go and do it.
Yeah, you just make a request, a motion, and stop and go to work. Whatever you're looking for.
Yeah, okay. I'll drop it. But again, I think the implication is this group will not be a representative group of Harbour users. It will be a group representing the opinions of each of us sitting around the table and nothing more.
Collective. That would be a collective.
Rob, I just want to touch on that. There's nothing stopping anybody from coming to you and saying, hey, you guys have a meeting coming up. You guys possibly look at this and talk about this, right? And if you think of all of our meetings to date, all of the minutes have been available online. Everything is available to the public right now. The public has not taken the opportunity, except for a handful, to come in and sit and talk, listen, put in comment when they have comment time. So I'm not sure of how we're gonna reach the Harbour users more. This group is a very large cross-section of what the harbor is. From the commercial to the North Harbor users, to just the fishermen, to business, to everything. I think this is a well-represented use of all of our harbors, well represented. And there's nothing stopping anybody to come in. I've had maybe a dozen people in 2 years come up to me and say, oh, I've done a harbor committee. Has there been any progress in this? Or this is what you guys talked about on the weekend, what's going on? Maybe a dozen in 2 years. So we're reaching some in the first 2 years, but I don't think you're gonna change it by putting anything down there or reaching out to the way you want to reach out, because they can totally do it already.
They could, I mean, no, I'm not gonna buy. Anyway, so that was one, there is one other matter I wanted to raise here, that the CAO will be delivering quarterly reports, whatever it was, to committee of the whole. Could those reports be reviewed by the group prior to, so there's an opportunity to comment on what's being passed on to council?
So it's supposed to be a summary of the minutes that you guys will have already seen anyway, so you'll have already seen it as part of the natural flow of what goes in, so there won't be any surprises that go on.
No, there won't be surprises, but the minutes are so cryptic. I looked at Robert's Rules of Order, you know, what they say about minutes, and minutes do not get into the substance of the discussion. So-and-so proposed this, it was voted yay or nay. That's the extent of it.
So the idea is to give a general sense of what we're talking about and issues that are being brought forward, so that ideally they'll know that these are coming anyway, because progress will be done. Like, the idea behind this is that we want to start getting things done, right? And so this group is gonna help us get stuff done by talking about what is supposed to be happening, and then quarterly, there'll be a summary of the items that have been discussed, and ideally it'll make sense to council because they'll have stuff being done. But in the interim, minutes will be done at the meeting. They are general, that's what minutes are, and then this group will have seen it, so when the summary goes, it'll be a summary of the general items that were discussed. So that council is aware, and if council cares, which some of them will, and they'll be like, hey, I noticed you guys talked about. What did we talk about? We talked about the new boat launch concrete there, did anything ever get done on that? And the answer is no, they could say, why not?
So also the committee members would have the opportunity, knowing that those minutes are going to council, to follow those minutes and become a delegation if you wanted to speak further to those minutes at the beginning of the meeting.
Yeah, not as a delegation, but as somebody else.
Well, you can get a formal delegation and get your 5 minutes, or you can speak for 2 minutes.
Right, you can get the 2 or your 5, yeah.
2 or
Yeah.
5.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think if there's no other burning issues in terms of what you're seeing before you, what other than the one change that the CAO has recommended to Jessica, which we all heard and I think we were all in agreement with. I am going to turn this over to the vice chair, Jim, to conduct the vote. There are, was Fraser still there? No.
He's there. He just can't wake up.
Fraser, are you with us? There you are. So we're gonna have a vote here. Sure, I just wanted to make sure you were there, Fraser. So we have Fraser, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're not gonna have a split vote here. It's gonna come out one way or the other. I'm gonna leave the room because last time I had a mistake of staying here. And when I was in the room, not raising my hand, it was a yes vote. So I'm not gonna make the same mistake tonight. And you got to conduct your vote. Without me in the room. Thank you.
Sorry, say that again. So the motion, I think that, Peter, is the motion on the floor automatically now, because you guys voted to reconsider, that puts the motion on the floor, and the motion is that the committee recommend that the revised terms of reference to the proposed community harbors user working group attached as appendix A as amended. Right? Appendix A as amended, be endorsed. Outstanding items from the Harbour User Advisory Committee be referred to the Community Harbour Users Working Group, and council dissolve the Harbour Users Advisory Committee. So that was the motion last time that failed. It's changed this time just to the appendix A as amended, which refers to the new terms of reference.
Sorry, Sundance, I know it's for clarification, the chair and support staff will prepare the agenda, but there will be input from the public members.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%.
Hey, Colin, the content of I read up the vote. Vote on it, all in favor?
Approved. Okay. Wow. Thank you. Bring Jim in.
So, may I ask you don't have to give me the particulars, but did the motion, for the new item here pass?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So that brings the next, question, which is, do we continue with tonight's agenda? Or do we leave this to the new working group to continue these discussions? Terry?
this is a recommendation to council, so at this point, the committee still exists. We have some items on the agenda which we want to do today. I think we should probably do work.
And so in terms of timing, how this will work is that this will go to the February 19th council meeting for approval. So the February 19th, so not this week, but 3 weeks from now or 2 weeks from now. And then at that point, just for process though, so if Ken's motion was to move forward, it would go forward at that same meeting as well, which might be a little bit awkward having them both go forward at the same time. Just,
Sorry, which are you talking about here?
your recommendation. Yours is next on the agenda. I guess what we're saying is that if yours was to be recommended by the committee.
Sorry, I don't think I have a recommendation on. Oh, no, yes, I do. You're right. I forgot that came back for a recommendation of council.
So the question is, do we want to bother doing that now or just leave it to the working group? Certainly both be coming at the same time with a staff report that would accompany yours as well. Or do we just want to leave that to the working group? How time sensitive is it?
I guess I was a bit surprised if I just clarify a couple things first. I was a bit surprised to see it on the agenda and, you know, the way it is as a motion of council, because at the last meeting, we acknowledged that the bylaw permits North Harbor to be used for transient now. That doesn't need to go to council. Don't need council's blessing to promote North Harbor for transient marriage. And Cal had indicated we wanted to hold some preliminary discussions. He would have a chance to have done by now, so I'm just wondering if there's any feedback.
Sorry, I thought you asked this to go on the agenda.
I asked for a report from staff on what transpired since our December meeting on the proposal in December.
I think, sorry, through the chair, I may have misunderstood what your request was.
Okay, yeah. No, I wasn't asking that this be put to council. Like I say, we thought this is with nods from city staff that there's no need to go to council. It can move forward as a staff initiative.
So going back to, well, that's good. That helps clarify that then. So continuing those conversations may make sense, noting that this isn't an outstanding thing. It has to go right away to council. So it'll be part of the working group moving forward if council chooses to do it.
Correct. Unless anything staff has learned since that suggests that it should go to council.
No, through the chair. As we now know, we just have a new Warfinger and Bertram. So we're really, we have been looking at it.
No further discussion of it whatsoever.
Very minimal. So nothing concrete.
So I got to clarify where I am on this agenda. Did you guys officially read the recommendation under item 6.1?
That's all, it's all done and it's all passed.
Okay,
So now we were
We
moving,
are now on 6.2.
which is what he was just speaking, what Ken was just speaking to.
So the question is, with the new staff involved, is it worthwhile the committee here talking about this tonight? Or wait for the working group to
I don't think
review it?
there's anything to be said about it.
Yeah.
Unless others have something.
Okay. So let's move on to agenda.
Sure. Just that is ask for a motion to postpone the item without any defined date.
Okay, so who would like to make that motion?
I don't know if did everyone hear, you didn't even think it needed to be on here, so we could even
Well, I
just.
just had it on here as a discussion.
The agenda was approved.
Okay.
So, well, it just should be motion to postpone indefinitely.
So Bridget, you'd like to make that motion?
Consider it made.
We don't usually have a motion on the table, like an agenda item. If nobody makes the motion, nothing happens. Agenda item doesn't create a motion.
Still have to, you have to deal with it somehow. It's on the agenda.
Okay, so Ken has made the motion to defer this item 6.2. And we have a seconder for that.
To the first meeting of the.
We'll agree on the next meeting of the working group. So, any further comments on that to defer? Hearing none, all in favor? So, yeah. We now move to item 6.3, status of the Westview Harbour Wharf head repair project. How are we doing there?
So. So there been an opportunity to work with small craft harbors to kind of expedite their process for acquiring a contractor and basically going up for tender. That was late last year. We moved it up the chain on our end. Basically, it didn't work out, so we weren't able to do it as quickly as we were hoping. I think Sasha might have some awareness of this one. So my last communication with small craft harbors with our rep is that they're just going through the regular tender process. I don't have a timeline yet, so waiting to hear.
So that, I guess brings up another question. Are we working on, something for the prawners to haul their gear in and out of the harbor?
We're definitely starting to have some thoughts and discussion around that. And definitely the timeline, once we talk to small craft harbors and get a definite timeline, that'll be helpful. They were really vague about how long they thought the whole process might take. So yeah, trying to get some parity. Very much aware of that information.
You were aware of this. Do you have anything to add?
I don't know if I should.
Okay.
I think you should.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I think you want me to.
If you don't want to say anything, that's fine. Jim?
Through the chair, is there an opportunity for, somewhere down near, 411 would be the only possible option that we could, possibly secure a IAM or something like that for the.
Definitely a possibility. We've been talking about that for sort of some sort of specific projects. That's an option, I think.
Yeah.
Again, hopefully Lund is, functional. It's not, obviously it's not equal and a replacement, but at least they would be up and running, I
It's
think.
been repaired.
Yeah. So,
Has been?
yeah. So we're not completely, messed up in this area. Yeah, I think it's an interim repair, which is what they're looking at doing here.
Is there no interim repair gonna happen on our zone?
Don't know yet. Yeah. Don't know yet.
Through the chair, another question.
Yes.
Would the interim repair raise our GDW rating so you can have loaded trucks?
The idea was they were going to fix, I think it was 6 pilings, something like that. It was a number of pilings that they were going to replace, make it usable. They couldn't guarantee what the load rating would ultimately be. Obviously, they knew that we wanted to get, like 5-ton trucks out there. So yeah, it wasn't going to be up to, full working load, but it was going to be something to make it function.
Any further questions? Hearing none, we'll move along. Under new business, we have item 7.1, Tentative North Harbor boat launch concrete replacement. Manager of Transportation.
So this is more just a heads up. This was on the books last year as well, and it's a plan to replace the concrete, the top sort of half of the boat launch, just because it was not done since I think it was first built. It wasn't replaced. So that was recognized as a trip hazard, safety item, all that stuff. It's been cobbled together over the past few years, so it's kind of holding together, but we got to replace it. The hope was, we were seeing a window as far as tides, as far as staffing, within the city to be able to actually get to the work. And hopefully weather as well, and also lesser use, least disruptive to harbor users. So we're aiming for early March, first part of March. We're really just waiting on to sort of make sure we have all the environmental stuff kind of in place for that. So engineering is going to be working on that piece. So it's just kind of a heads up to let you guys know that this is, something we definitely want to do. The next window of opportunity would probably be in October, if we miss this one. So just more of a heads up for folks.
Just out of curiosity, are you replacing it as is, or are they changing a bit of the grade to the trailer?
It would be basically replacing as is.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing major. It's more about the safety of the.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
yes.
So Jim and then Ken.
If I can make a suggestion, last time we had our ground shut down for a short period of time when a dredging bucket had actually broke the bottom half of it. We had a lot of flack from, understandably, the company like Jesse's, for example, and but even the tackle shops, they were very, very vocal that we lacked communication. And it was hardship on them. So you guys
Very much.
really, really try hard to put a fan note and let the user groups and
Yeah.
the shop, et cetera, know.
On that note, I have had, Cam has
Yeah.
reached out to a couple businesses over there, so the communication's been excellent.
The challenge is, we're hoping still, right? So I think we want to do it, we're not sure we're doing it, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So we've got to get our ducks in a row, saying here that it's tentatively planned.
Couple of questions, how long is the construction expected to take?
Probably about 2 weeks.
And will the launch be closed entirely, or will you do half at a time?
No, it's just, it's not gonna make sense for us to do half of it. It's just so tight there as is.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, but it's, this is the best way to do it, is that,
Both the docks and the silo remain the same, I guess, or
Yeah.
probably are in art to allow for the construction.
we're really, it's really, we're just focused on the concrete.
And then, I was gonna ask about cost, I don't know that, it's, that much of an interest to this group unless, is the money coming from,
It's in the capital, it's already funded,
it's not coming from North Harbor Reserve then?
not that I'm aware of it, it was a capital request, so yeah, I can't speak to that.
I didn't see it in the 5-year plan.
It should be in there.
Okay, I'll look again. So can we confirm if the money, that the money is not coming from the North Harbor Reserve?
I could try and find that out, we can talk to it.
I think, well, I'm sure we can't. It would be interesting, I mean, North Harbor merge fees currently pay for expenses associated with the boat launch. And that's maybe gonna be a topic for future discussion. But if this rebuild of the boat launch is coming out of North Harbor merge fees, that would be a much more urgent topic of discussion.
I just want to get it done. What can I say? I mean, well, it would be nice to extend it too as well, but I get your point, totally get it, Tim, but yeah, it's. Yeah, give us some money, we need it, we get the funding, operationally is how we're looking at it. So,
Maybe look at a launch use fee to pay for it.
that someone else can bring that up, but
Yeah.
I'm not going there.
I just paid $20 one way to Victoria.
Yeah, well, I know, but yeah, it's, there we go, someone else can die on that hill.
Anything else, Ken?
No, thanks.
Okay. So, just on the boat launch itself, everybody is aware that any future grading or changes to that majorly are tied into what's they're gonna do with the liquid waste facility. At least that's what I've been told. Pretty much there. So when that happens, who heaven knows? That's a mystery. So 7.2, discussion regarding utilization of north side of ADOT.
I have something added to the agenda. I'm just wondering if there has been any discussion among staff about, we got empty dock space that there's demand for, there's boats on the wait list that's not being used, not generating any revenue.
So yes, there's been discussion. I can point out the new wharfage coming online. We recognize, I mean, everyone has to recognize there's some limitations with that space. And because of that, we have to be very careful how we divvy it out. So we want to be thoughtful. There's interest from different groups. We want to entertain and give them an opportunity to kind of give those ideas to us. And we want to be fair to the harbor people, who are on the wait list, or folks who want to get to the harbor on the wait list. So it's a matter of, we're trying to consider how best to use it. It's got to be functional enough for people. And who does that best suit? Because it's an awkward space. That's really the bottom line.
Is there any thinking as to when a decision might be made?
I'm hoping in the next few weeks.
Which wouldn't give this group an opportunity to have any input.
You know what, I mean, I'm not married to it. My first thought is, and what makes the most kind of sense just to me, is we know there's, the wait list, we hear about that all the time. People are, they want in the harbor.
Yeah.
Looking, which wait list is sort of, where's our biggest pain point? And I mean, because of the limitations with low tide, getting in and out of there, it's awkward as hell. And so you're limited when you're using that space. We could go down the biggest wait list and, the one that actually would fit there and could ask people, would this work for you? A way of being able to get off that wait list. And if you turned it down, it's not like I would kick you to the bottom of the wait list. That wouldn't be fair because this is an unusual spot, a bit of an exceptional situation.
I
But
guess
use it as a way of potentially taking some pain out of it.
my thinking is in large part what's fair to all harbor users, because all the costs that are associated with the north side of the dock, like all the costs associated with North Harbor are paid from mortgage fees. So there's kind of an obligation, I would say, North Harbor mortgage fee payers to make sure the city is optimizing revenue from that PC dock.
Yeah, how you define revenue too. I mean, people start talking about the spin-off from other uses. I think it's smart to look at all of that stuff, right?
The revenue to a restaurant up the street doesn't generate any benefit to harbor users. Let's not just like keep the focus on harbor users. It's harbor users pay all the costs associated with running the North Harbor, including the water lot lease, city staff, the chargebacks for computers to generate invoices, et cetera.
You know what I mean? I'm happy to have other discussions to talk about it more. But we're damned if we do, we're damned if we don't. It's really how it goes with so much of this stuff. So
Let's all be damned together.
sure.
I wonder if it's beneficial for Sundance and Peter and Mark, if I explained how we got there prior to this, with the layout of April, the way it was built up. You guys are interested and I can tell you where it all started about 13, 14 or 15 years ago. The A-float is when you first arrive into the North Harbor. It's designed on the south side, it's got fingers there's 44-foot fingers first, and then it becomes 40-foot fingers. But on the north side, between the breakwater and the float, it was just in not the architect drawing, but the drawings, how we're going to attack the wait list. We designed that for 20 to 24-foot vessels, and we were going to fill it up with a whole row, being that it would require a shallow draft vessel and not a real beamy vessel. So we thought we'd pile in a whole bunch of 20 to 24 footers in there and maximize that space. Right near completion, and it was all outfitted with small fleets. You wrap the thing, they go around and I could go. So near completion, Cooper Boating was making a presence in Fall River, and they approached the mayor, and the mayor and the chief financial officer at the time came up with a plan where they wanted large vessels in there, large, deep, wasn't ideal for them, but they said that they could work with it. They would have no problem bringing a boat in, tying it up at the outside and walking it in with ropes and dealing with the low tides, doing all that stuff. We recognized to be able to compromise. Wasn't ideal for a 40-foot boat, but they wanted to put in the door, and that's what they came up with. So the maintenance crew, actually your dad was on the maintenance crew at the time. They went in there and they removed all the small cleats and they put in the large, bigger cleats to house a bigger boat. And we lost numbers, but we probably had adequate linear footage, I'd say. So I guess that's the decision that Canada is trying to grapple with right now.
They're gone, because Cooper's.
Here's the
Yeah.
not stated.
I think 2 weeks ago we got
And
official.
last time I talked to Jen about it, she said there are more than enough boats in that small range to fill a dock.
Yeah.
On the wait list.
And then the staff wouldn't be faced with complaints that, I can't get by this boat, or, if you use smaller boats. It addresses one user group, and it also would, less headaches that staff would have. In my opinion.
With the more smaller boats, you've got more local users in your harbor.
And then Cam, is that sort of the general idea you have is to do that?
Yeah, I mean, right now it's which size really, I mean, around I think the 29-foot-ish is really, that's our biggest pain point on the wait list, right? Smaller boats, less so, there's not nearly the.
Yeah.
I think when the harbor was first built, it was everyone had small boats too, right? It was kind of that. Industry boats are, the bigger demand is for slightly larger.
Just to clarify, like, for that north side of ADOG, we are kind of looking at options for the various wait lists, or are we proposals for different groups coming in and utilizing it?
Right now, I mean, I'm leaning towards the wait list. Meaning.
Yeah.
But I wanna be able to sort of consider kind of everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I didn't realize
Yeah.
that there was an opportunity for proposal for a different,
Right now, there's, if people have thoughts,
okay,
yeah, we're happy to.
good to know, but I didn't realize that, so, thank you.
So that takes us to the end of our agenda. What I would suggest, just from, because will be my last time here, but I've given a little bit of thoughts, if this passed tonight. And you adopted, meeting every 2 months, I would suggest that if Cam and Wardinger are all right with it, that your next meeting should be the first week of, next month, March. May. And then your third meeting before the summer holiday this season in June. So you'll have 3 working group meetings to get hopefully some things accomplished before this busy summer months and you're off.
Just comment, kind of related. There's no reason, given the nature of the new group, that there can't be more correspondence communication among members and the city people on the group by email, for example. And for example, if there is some option being considered for you using ADOT, those options perhaps could be shared with the group and the group's input sought before final decisions by email.
Okay, so next meeting, first Wednesday of March, is that all right with everyone, staff? We gotta go. What time be your next meeting?
Are they still leaving?
I think we try to stick to the same idea. I mean, unless it doesn't work, but it seems to work.
Staff was hoping to get you into normal working hours. It would work for me. We'll stop applying, no, it wouldn't work for almost that.
Well, that will be the next meeting, March 4th, Jessica, and I guess put up the reminder and out for any items for the agenda for the working group week before, as we usually do. I am really looking forward to corporate week report.
Thanks, Fraser.
If you need to contact me at any time, feel free. Thank you, Fraser. Much appreciated.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you back in Canada.
See you later.
So I'll call for adjournment, moved by Terry, seconded by Jesse. And we are adjourned at 7:58. Thank you very much.